Thanks for joining me today for Think Big with Michael Zellner, powered by Platinum Jewelers. My guest today for episode 114 is William Bedford. Will played basketball and was the starting center at the University of Memphis. Back then, it was Memphis State University from 1983 to 1986. He was a member of an elite team that went to 3 straight Sweet 16, and he also was a member of the 1985 Final Four team in Lexington, Kentucky. He was the 6th pick of the Phoenix Suns in the first round of the NBA draft, and he was also a member of the 1990 Detroit Pistons NBA championship team. Will, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. You know, you grew up in Memphis and went to Melrose High School. What did you enjoy most about your childhood and maybe, a few friendships that you had back in that time?
Back in those days, basketball was pretty much our lives. We traveled together like all over the city. Different guys go to different places and play different parks, and we never had any violence because the basketball was so competitive, in different neighborhoods. So we were always invited to other neighborhoods to play or different community centers to play, and pretty much it was a fun time growing up because we had a lot of old school coaches that was helping us and a lot of veteran guys that have been through before that would come back here from college or from overseas, and they would come back and play against us in these community centers just to make us better.
Right. Do you have a few teachers or coaches from high school that you remember that had an influence on your life?
Yes, my number one influence was Coach Spriggs. That was the first person that gave me my first starting lineup job as a ninth grader on an all senior high basketball team.
Wow.
After Coach Spriggs, it was Coach Sims and Coach Hamilton. And like those three guys, those were the guys that really built me for basketball, that really started me to playing, coming to get me on the weekends, back when in my early ages, like 8th, ninth grade, they would come out and teach me different drills and teach me to go and play with other players that was better than I was. So, I mean, it helped out a lot.
You speaking of Dorsey Sims?
Yes, Dorsey Sims was my high school coach.
I've heard some amazing things about him. Just a great man.
He was a great coach. He was a great man. He was a great father figure. He was one of those type of coaches that would come and get you like 6:30 Saturday morning, like, you had no school on Saturday, but he
Right.
would come get you at 6:30 in the morning and made sure you ate breakfast and put you in the gym just about all day long with some guys that was much older than you just to get you, used to playing and running up and down and getting used to touching the basketball.
Right.
Uh, Coach Sims, he played a big part of my life because he was there most of the time, and I spent most of my basketball time with him.
Right. You said, quote, honestly, I hated basketball. I was made to play basketball. I was 6'9" in ninth grade, and they made me play basketball because everyone was telling my parents to make me play basketball. I hated basketball. When I was in ninth grade, I couldn't even make a layup, unquote. What was it about the sport back then that you didn't enjoy?
I just, there was nobody in my family that really made it far in basketball, and no other sport really. But I just started. I liked football a lot, and I never really watched basketball because I was just, I wasn't interested. My thing was football,
Right.
and the Rams. I used to like the Rams of my first team. I liked because of the wide receivers they had, and then I can remember coming up back in the days loving the Pittsburgh Steelers because they had Franco
That's
Harris,
my team.
Lynn Swan, and all those guys. Then,
John Stallworth. Oh,
yeah, and
yeah.
then early on, I went to the Minnesota Vikings because of Dante Culpepper and Randy Moss.
Right.
And then after Moss left there, I went to and I've been with the Eagles ever since.
Tough game this past few weeks ago. I know
Let's not talk about the Eagles right now.
the future's bright in Philadelphia though with Jalen. I'm an Alabama
Very bright.
fan, so yeah, Jalen, yeah, he's awesome. So the future's very bright there for sure. You started at Melrose and started, in high school. I'm sure you were probably recruited by a lot of schools because of your strong athletic abilities, in the paint, both on offense and defense. What made you choose to play for your hometown school, Memphis State?
Well, I grew up here, and like I said, there was a lot of guys here in high school with us that played. We used to go around different places playing against each other all the time. And then high school, all of us were rivals. Mitchell High School had Andre Turner. Cincinnati was over there at Frazier. And, you had Keithley over in West Memphis. You had Baskerville at Westwood. You had guys everywhere. I mean, a lot of top-notch players here in town. So all the guys that, we were pretty close with, we were pretty close knit because we had some of the same friends that didn't play basketball, but they were same family friends that hung around with us. And, it really was a no-brainer because if all of your friends that you grew up with are going to one college and it's right there down the street from the house, walking
Mhm.
distance from the house. And you get to stay at home. I get to be with my family. I get to be with all the guys I know. I get to play on a team. I know the coaches. I've been knowing the coaches like Coach Finch was my assistant coach. I've been seeing and knowing Coach Finch since I was in ninth grade because him and Dorsey Sims were good friends.
Right.
And it just bled right in. I was like, I didn't have any thinking probably about where I was going. I was like, oh, I'm going to Memphis State. I mean, why am I going anywhere else?
Right.
I said, I want to stay at home. I want to go play with Andre. I want to go play with basketball. I want to play with Keith. I want to go out there and I want to play with those teams.
Right.
So,
You came to Memphis State 1983. You joined, as you mentioned, Andre Turner, and Keith Lee was already a star. Y'all just created a great trio at the time. Andre was a sophomore and Keith was a junior when you started. How did the two of them help you adjust to the college game?
well, mainly, Keith would always try to keep me humble, keep me like, you know, going to class, thinking about basketball, thinking about a future. You know what I'm saying? Instead of playing around all the time like guys do. But I was hard headed. I didn't listen. I kept running around doing things, playing. It was like when you moved into a dorm with all your friends. It's like a big huge party every day.
Right.
So but then I had Andre there, and then Andre is one of the best point guards that ever came out of the city of Memphis.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and it surprises me how now he and Keith both are all-time leaders at the school, and they're not doing anything with the school. So I kind of fought the school for that because we need those guys around, you know.
Right. Yeah. And Andre now is, coaching at Lane.
He's coaching at Lane now. He's a head coach there.
Yeah.
I think he's doing pretty good.
Yeah, he is. You guys had a great year your first season with the Tigers. Went 26-7. You were a number 6 seed in the NCAA tournament. We beat Georgetown, and you and Keith, y'all had a Twin Tower presence, and y'all dominated Patrick Ewing in that game. I mean, I remember that game vividly. I was just a kid, but I remember that game. And the second year in a row. Next, we have to play Hakeem Olajuwon and Phi Slama Jama and his teammates with the Houston Cougars. And you had an incredible game. You went 10 of 12 shooting, scored 21 points. It just, wasn't enough. We came up short and lost 78-71. What was it like for you at such a young age to be playing against Ewing and Olajuwon and some of the best players in college ball?
I didn't. I don't know. I guess it's just something about Memphis players that other players that have a lot of hype just don't phase us. It's just we grew up playing harder than you. I mean, you have to understand basketball here in Memphis is not like basketball playing Nerf hoops.
Right.
These guys play. If you're not bleeding, then it's not a foul. So, I mean, it's just like when Penny met up with Jordan. I mean, it looks at Jordan like, you just another player. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's just something instilled in the players that's here in Memphis. We just play.
Right.
We want competition. We want that dogness. We want that talking. We want all of that. It's just it makes us feel good because that's how we grew up playing.
Right.
We started playing like that from elementary through the community centers. I mean, we talk so much junk and trash to each other. It's like, what you gonna tell us in the next team? Somebody next to us, what are you gonna tell us? What are you
Right.
gonna say? There's nothing you can say that my boy didn't just told me about 10 minutes ago.
Right, exactly. That's funny. Yeah, I just like I said, that game with Ewing just sticks out because you guys, like I said, just dominated him that game. That was such a fun game to watch. One thing that Dana Kirk did not lack was confidence. When he was hired at Memphis State, he had big goals in mind of what he wanted to do with the program. I've been told by both Otis Jackson and Andre Turner they felt Coach Kirk knew the game really well. X's and O's guys. He was in charge in that huddle. What was your relationship like with him?
It was kind of quiet. Coach Kirk didn't say much to me. I mean, he didn't have to because I did my assignment. What he said: run, get rebounds, block shots. That's what you do, and anything else is a plus. And that's all I wanted to do. All I did was run, and I used to love to run because I knew if I got at the other end, Andre was going to get to him.
Right.
And that's why I tried to outrun everybody because I knew I was going to get that score. Even if I wanted to win so bad. I got into playing basketball and just wanted to win so bad. It became almost a habit. It's like I have to win at all costs.
I just remember Dana Kirk, he just such a loud personality on the court and he had, like I said, he had a presence about him, where you felt, well, he's the kind of guy where he walked into a room and, you felt like, yeah, he's that guy, he was in charge. I mean, he felt like, he had the program heading in the right direction.
Yes, he did. He did. I like Coach Kirk. I can't complain one bit about it.
Speaking of Andre Turner again, he was my second guest on my podcast when I started last June. As everyone in Memphis knows and across the nation, the little general was a special point guard and, is also, like you said, a great person, nice person too. For a big man like yourself, there's probably not a lot more important things than having a really good point guard that's good at getting you the ball in the right place and at the right time. How was he able to do that so well?
Well, Andre was, probably about one of the quickest guards in college at the time. And a lot of guys underestimate his passes are coming to you wide open. I mean, he was giving it to you on a dime, but he would fake his player out or short step him and be gone by him, and my player would have to pass on him. You have to, because he was just that quick. And he had an awareness, he could see the court. Once he crossed half court, you had better have your head turned.
Yeah.
Because he could hit with the ball real quick.
One of the things I talked about with him, I remember so well that a couple of different plays that you guys had that he ran with both, you and Keith Lee. The tip at the beginning of the game. I mean, where the tip the ball, tipped at Andre, either you or Keith went around for the alley-oop slam dunk. And I was telling him, man, that worked all the time. And you would think, now I know there was still video back then for teams to watch, not like it is now, obviously. But how that was able to work so well, so many times from the tip off was just beyond me because it worked all the time.
It worked. It worked before every game. It worked, and I don't. Today, people are telling me who drew the play up. Was it Coach Sales, Verdi Sales? Was it Coach Sims, or was it Coach Finch, or was it Coach Kirk? I don't know who drew the play up, but it worked perfectly every time, even on the road. And another play we used to do that worked just about every time is after halftime was over and we're coming back to take the ball out for the second half, we would line up on the opposite side.
Yes.
Their bench and their coaches, the coaching staff and the benches and everybody, they didn't have a clue either. We would line up on the other end like we were going to the same goal and throw the ball in, just walk down there and just lay the ball up.
I know.
And we did that almost every game.
I know, and he and I talked about that too. I was like, "That's exactly the other play. You nailed it. Those two plays, how they continuously continued to all the friggin' time. They did.
Every game they worked.
And thankfully, the referees kept their mouth shut most of the time on the beginning of the second half. You guys got away with it.
All they did was take the ball out. And when they take the ball and hand it to you, it's up to y'all to go to which way you're supposed to be going.
Right.
You don't have to tell you which way to go. You're supposed to know that.
Exactly. During that 1984-85 season, your sophomore year, the team went 31-4. You went to the Final Four in Lexington. That year, we lost at South Carolina, at number 13 Kansas, at Detroit. Now that one's still a mystery. I mean, that's just a trap game that happened there. That just the team probably just wasn't ready. And then that
Right.
obviously that last game against Villanova. The team was only the second team in the history of Memphis to have ever reached the Final Four at the time. And Andre and I talked about it, and I believe to this day that even though you guys lost to Villanova, that team still had the best starting five that year with you, Keith, and Andre, and Vincent Askew, and Basketball Holmes. Also had a great shooter. People forget Willie Beckton coming off the bench. He was, lined up
Right.
out there. That little set shot that he had out there from, in between the, had the front of the court and the side there. On that corner, he was really good. And Dwight Boyd, too.
Yeah.
Of
White
course.
Boy still,
What? I'm sorry.
White Boy is still with the team now. He's part of the staff from with Penny. Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that. That's great. Of course, we'll never know, and it doesn't work that way. But if you guys played 5 times against Villanova on a neutral court, you're going to win 3 of those games. I mean,
No, 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 no,
maybe 4.
no, 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 no. That team, if let's reverse it back all the way up, and let's just say whatever happened happened. The reason why we didn't win it at point shaving or whatever the case may be, I have no clue about what it was because all I was doing is playing basketball. That's what I was there for.
Right.
Let's say all of that didn't take place. We would have blew the doors on Villanova. Right?
Right.
And the next year we'd have come back to back because everybody was back again.
Right. Yeah, we only lost Keith the next year.
Honestly, we lost was Keith.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. That I'll never forget that game. I mean, I know Villanova slowed it way down. I mean, I think the final score was 52-45. It was tied 45-all with like a minute and a half to go. And if people say that Raleigh Massimino coached a great game, and it's like you said, we have no idea what happened, the point shaving allegations, and we'll never know. I mean, Coach Kirk's been on a long time, and he never admitted anything, so we'll never know. They go on to beat Patrick Ewing a couple of days later and win it all. And one thing about the team that I've read and heard is that there was this togetherness and closeness with you guys. It was really special that you guys did everything together. Tell us a little bit about some of the memories you have of that special time in that team.
Well, that team, we stayed in the dorm together. We were in South Hall, and then all of us, like our rooms are real close to each other. And pretty much, we didn't go around the city playing with anybody or doing anything wrong. It's just that when we wanted to hang out, we hung out with each other. We've been around each other and growing up with each other all our lives. So putting us that much closer together where we're in the dorm and we're all of us here instead of scattered all over the city, it made us closer, and we really got to learn, about each other and their parents and, their brothers and sisters, where they from, how they grew up and everything. And it was really similar to exactly how we grew up. We didn't grow up any different from each other, as everybody had their own struggles. And we were able to overcome those struggles and be able to play together and look at each other as teammates. Because in high school, we were all rivals. We wanted to kill each other in high school, because all our high school games were standing room only. And you're not going to see any of those guys. We had ropes around our floors for the baseline. People holding ropes. Fire marshals used to shut down games because we were rivals against Mitchell, Northside, Frazier, everywhere. And then to say, okay, all of us guys, all the star players, which we really didn't see ourselves as star players. We've seen ourselves as good basketball players that knew we could go somewhere else and make a decision about our life to make it better and make it better for our family. So, and that's what we did. We all went to one place. And it turned out to be a beautiful thing.
I met Andre.
They would never, ever have another team like we have. There would never, ever be a whole team from Memphis. Never.
And as good as that 08 team was that lost to Kansas, they should have never lost to Kansas. That 85 team would have beaten that 08 team.
That team couldn't shoot free throws.
Right.
we were killers on free throws.
Are you shopping for a new watch, an engagement ring, any kind of jewelry at all? What's up, Memphis? This is Jaren Jackson Jr. from the Grizzlies, encouraging you all to shop where I shop, Platinum Jewelers here in Memphis. Platinum Jewelers has a big selection of earrings, stockable rings, luxury watches, necklaces, bracelets, really whatever you need. 9387 Poplar next to Fresh Market in Germantown. So if you need anything jewelry related, go to my spot, Platinum Jewelers.
A couple other things I remember about that year. I was saying I met Andre about 7 years ago. I used to have a mattress store, and he came out to an event, and I was showing him a couple of videos from top 100 memories of NCAA tournament history that he was in. People forget sometimes. He hit 2 game-winning shots. Against UAB in overtime, 67, 66. I think that Vincent was Andre was guarding Steve Mitchell at the time, and then they changed it, and then Vincent ended up taking over and guarding him, but then Andre ended up hitting the winning shot, that game. And then, less than a week later, 14 seconds to go, 3 back-to-back timeouts. This is back when shot clock era wasn't on. I'll never forget that. And back-to-back, they throw the ball inbounds. The ball bounces off the guy's foot right to Askew, and Askew drives down into the corner, 57 all, and then it looks like he's going up for a shot. He gets up in midair and sort of spins around and throws it back out to Andre, and then Andre just swish at the end of the game. That time must have been unbelievable.
Watching those two play together is unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
And then the next week, you guys beat Tisdale in Oklahoma.
Yes.
That's why I say that game against Villanova. Did y'all talk? About it slowing down? To figure out a way to speed that game up at all?
I don't think any of the players talked about it. I know I didn't. I can't speak about somebody else or what happened, but I know I didn't say anything about it. I never had an interview with any media, or I didn't talk to anybody else about it afterwards. I just chalked it up as a loss.
And the son of a guns at Sports Illustrated, I remember them leaving us off the Final Four cover. They had all the Big East teams that year and stuff, and then they had the nerve to rank us at the end of the year, not 4th but 5th. And I'm like, really? That team, honestly, a little. I still say it to this day. Georgetown was great. Villanova had a good team. We were the best team in the country.
But nobody liked us, and I don't understand why. What was the big deal?
I know.
Just because the whole team was from Memphis?
Yeah.
Everybody? So why were we so hated about it? That's why we used to come in and destroy everybody, because we knew we already had that monkey on our back.
Absolutely. In 1984, the Chicago Bulls selected with the number 3 pick in the first round of the NBA draft, pretty good player, guy out of North Carolina named Michael Jordan. The next year, 1985, the Bulls have the 11th pick in the first round. They select Memphis State's Keith Lee. If I had to guess, they probably consulted Michael a little bit about who they were picking. He must have thought that Keith was going to be a really special player at the next level. Keith only played 4 years in the league, had really bad knee injuries. I know it's playing the what if game, but had Keith not had those injuries, how good of an NBA player do you believe he would have been, especially playing with Jordan?
I think it'd have been very good. That'd have been something to watch. Like you say, unfortunately, the knee surgeries and the hamstrings didn't last. Even when I first made it to the league, my first year, I got injured before preseason even started. I got hurt. I had to have my first knee surgery.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I think the problem is guys coming out of high school, coming out of college, you playing 30 games, you playing 1 game a week. So then by the time you go to the NBA and you go through training camp and preseason, and then your body's already went through a lot of wear and tear, because you're not used to 4 games a week in 4 different cities.
Yeah.
You're used to being at home all week and playing 1 day, and then you practice for the rest, and your body's not really tearing up.
Right.
But it just puts more on you when you change and get into the higher level, the highest level you can play, that your body takes on a lot more strength and power that you need that you don't realize until after you get there and you get hurt. Then you feel like, okay, well, what am I doing wrong? Then you have to start working out on a whole different kind of regimen in order to withstand the power and the play and the traveling. And, you got to stay healthy. You got to eat right. You always have to exercise.
Now, I've never thought about that way. Well, the difference in, playing the one at the most, 2 games a week at the most, and then you're going to all the plane rides and all the traveling and all the working out and the 4 games and the preseason. That must take a huge toll on your body.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It takes a lot of toll. You'd be surprised too, because you're playing and you're traveling and you're running up and down and you're not really realizing your body is getting weaker because you're not putting no strength into it. You're not lifting any weights. You're not. What are you doing? You're constantly pounding it. Then you end up hurt.
Right.
See, in college, we don't have to work out and lift weights all the time like that. In college, you can lift weights once a week. Well, we play next Tuesday. You really don't worry about it. You slough around. But in the NBA, you working out and you playing basketball every day. Sometimes, instead of playing 3 hours a day, you up to 6 to 8 hours a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. For those of us that had the privilege of watching Memphis State play at the Mid-South Coliseum in the 1980s, you were treated to something really special there. Memphis State won 88% of the games there from 1980 to 1990. That place had such an amazing atmosphere. 10,000 plus fans pack out, loud, crazy. Sometimes obviously gave us a huge advantage. My parents had season tickets, for over 30 years. So as a kid, I was lucky that when my mom didn't go to a game, I got to go to the games with my dad and had a good time. That place was way better than the Pyramid. It wasn't even close. The Pyramid was horrible. And, as great as the FedEx Forum is to watch a game, the Coliseum was still a better place to watch Memphis play basketball. You said back then, quote, in college, I could say that being in the Mid-South Coliseum, that big open space, I never played one game in the Mid-South Coliseum without marijuana. There was no way I could run out on the floor with all those people watching me play. I had a hard time, I had to find a way to cope with it, unquote. Well, obviously I would say that it must have helped you a lot because you were sure dang good out there on the court.
That's one of the things that I often ask myself today is, what would have happened if I'd have been totally sober in those games that I played in the Mid-South Coliseum? Because I played 3 years in there.
Yep.
And it was like, I don't know. I guess it was just that I dealt with so much anxiety and stress. If you look on, I think a few of my pictures, I forgot to think of my sophomore year when my hair fell out. Did you see those pictures? Yeah, that was under a lot of stress. I had 3 spots in my head that fell out. My hair fell out. And if you remember, Mike Tyson had the same thing.
Yeah. Okay. I do remember him.
Yeah.
Right.
Mine did the same thing. And the only way I could cope with the feeling of just everybody looking at me and it just the feeling and the stress is like I had to do something. Until I felt like if I got high, I felt like if I smoked weed, that it was like a film right here. It's like you really don't see me. You see me, but you really don't. I'm really behind this film right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's what I kept in my mind all the time. That's when I went out and played. Like I couldn't. I never paid attention to the crowd. I never talked to the crowd. I never even heard it.
It made you comfortable though enough to play a great game.
Yes, I didn't get nervous. And I tried. I think I tried once. I think of the very first game I played in the Mid-South Coliseum when Derek Phillips got hurt. I think he broke his foot. That was the first time off the bench. That was the only time that I played that I was sober, and it was just like I almost lost my mind. I was like, I can't believe this. It's like I'm the first one off the bench now, and it was like coming from green, going straight to red. All right, now is your turn.
Derek was a pretty solid player. I forgot that he was on the team when you were a freshman.
Yeah, pretty solid player from St. Louis. Derek Phillips was a good center. He taught me a few things. He was my next door neighbor in South Hall.
Nice. So now Keith is in the NBA, and it's you and Andre are the leaders of the team. It's your junior year, 85, 86. Another great team with, 4 starters in double figures with you and Andre and Baskerville and Vincent and almost a fifth. I mean, Dwight Boyd was at 9.7 a game. So basically double figures there too. You average, 17 points, 8.5 rebounds a game, third team All-American honors, 28-6, number 3 seed in the Southeast region NCAA tournament. And the first and second rounds were played in Baton Rouge. In the first round, we pummeled number 14, Ball State, like 95-63. I loved it because I went down to that game with a friend of mine. We drove down for that weekend. And not only were we huge Tiger fans, we wanted to win for that, but we also wanted to win because it meant we got to go spend the weekend in New Orleans with our fake IDs and go drink at 17 years old. Now, it was a different time back then than now. I mean, number 11 seeded LSU gets to play on their friggin' home court for the first few rounds. I mean, that just should have never happened then. It wouldn't happen now, but still, even back then, a number 11 seed, they beat Purdue in double overtime to get to play you guys. I remember we were up 47-41 halftime with about 5 minutes to go. We're in control of the game, and then everything changed. In the last few seconds of the game, tied 81 all. LSU's Don Redden, misses a jump shot, 5 seconds to go. I'll never forget because I'm behind that goal. Ball rattling around on the floor near the basket. And that little guard, Anthony Wilson, gets the ball, throws up this little prayer 8-foot jump shot, bounced off the rim twice, hit off the glass first, and then fell through at the friggin' buzzer for the win. I mean, not taking any away from that team. John Williams, LSU, good team. I know they went to the Final Four that year and all that, but I mean, I'll never forget that drive back to Memphis. It was miserable. I can't imagine your stellar 3-year career at Memphis State ending like that. I mean, it had to be a tough day for you.
I mean, I still see that shot. Still today, because I was standing right in front of him, and I think somebody was in front of me. Somebody was in front of me. The reason why I couldn't jump to block it, and he wasn't that far in front of me. And I was like, and I watched it go in. I watched it from the time he released his hand to the time I remember the guy, the shot, the scrambling on the floor. I remember the whole 9 yards because I wanted us to get to the next level.
Yeah, I remember with about 5 minutes to go, I was going to run to the payphone back then to call the book tickets to go to Atlanta because we would have played, I think, Georgia Tech, in the next round. Because I was going like, we got this game, and then it all changed.
Yep. Just
now,
like the other night.
A good day for you had to be Tuesday, June 17th, 1986, NBA draft day. You're invited to Felt Forum in New York City for the event in the illustrious green room. What was the moment like for you when you heard then NBA Commissioner David Stern announce your name with the 6th pick in the first round by the Phoenix Suns?
Well, okay, little did anybody know, I was supposed to go first round, first pick. Because,
really?
Hold on, because if you remember, that was the year of the lottery. That was the year that you put the names in the bucket and get to switch them around. See, before they put the names in there and got doing all that, Philadelphia had the first pick.
I didn't know that.
Before they started all of it, Philadelphia had the first pick. If Philadelphia had got the first pick, I would have went number 1. So they put all these cards in there, got to shuffle them around, and that's how Phoenix ended up with number 6. Because number 1 pick, who was number 1, Brad Daugherty.
Right.
He went to Cleveland because Cleveland ended up getting the first pick. Second one was Len Bias.
Right.
So.
Oh my God, you would have played with Barkley.
Yes. I'd have been up there with Barkley, Moses, Doc, all of them. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I know.
Wow. I had no idea that was the first year where they did that.
That was the first year the lottery pick started. When they started putting those things in that bucket, and should have never done that.
I understand that, during those days together in New York for the draft that, the top players, got to spend a little bit of time together. We talked about Brad Daugherty. I believe there was Kenny Walker, Chuck Person, and you mentioned Len Bias, who was the 2nd pick, out of Maryland, by the Boston Celtics. tragically, his life ended just 2 days after that draft on June 19th of cardiac arrhythmia. It was induced by a cocaine overdose. He was an All-American like yourself, and just a really good basketball player. Did you have an opportunity to talk to him and spend any time when you were up there?
Well, we did. We sat and talked for a while. I mean, the only thing we talked about was, about the excitement of being there and what we were gonna do, when we got our first checks and all this kind of stuff. We really that I really didn't know him or get to know him really good, but I've always seen him play. I watched film on him many times and I've seen him on TV playing and then to actually meet him, it was pretty special, because all of us there together. We all knew we were going the first round. We just didn't know what pick.
Yeah,
That was the exciting part.
yeah. I can't even. I mean, yeah, to lose his life 2 days later like that after a dream come true. I mean, this a horrible situation there. I remember that's the year I graduated high school. I remember that whole situation, and I remember it was just such a sick feeling inside knowing that young man lost his life.
Yeah, yeah. It was hard. It was hard for all of us.
After you played in Phoenix for a year, you were traded to the Detroit Pistons, who at the time they were one of the top teams in the league. Isaiah Thomas, Rick Mahorn, Bill Laimbeer, John Sally, who I believe was in the draft with you, Vinnie Johnson, and another young player in the '86 draft, Dennis Rodman, was also on that team. I understand that you and Dennis, got to know each other pretty well while you were there. Tell us a little bit about the Dennis Rodman that you knew during that time.
Well, Dennis Rodman, I knew that time wasn't the flamboyant Dennis y'all seen with the color in the hair and the tattoos. He didn't have none of that. He didn't have no piercings, tattoos, hair color, none of that. He was just the average guy, but he used to work hard so much. And he was always telling me about working hard and what they hired him to do. Everybody want me to shoot the ball, but that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to defend and rebound. That's what I'm gonna do. But Dennis was he was a different kind of guy. Dennis used to work out tremendously. I mean, Dennis worked out in the morning at home. He worked out when he got to the gym for practice. He worked out after he got out of the practice. He worked out after he got back home.
Wow.
And it's like he was constantly doing this. He would work out before a game and he'd work out after the game.
He was in amazing shape, though. His body was chiseled.
Yes, yes, he was.
What was it like playing, and learning from legendary coach, Chuck Daly, during what, called the Bad Boys era and being part of that, championship team in 1990 with the Pistons?
Let me. Okay, now this is my turn to be perfectly honest now. Okay. All right. Now, so you didn't let the cat out the bag. Okay. If you go back and you look at my first year in Phoenix, I only played 50 games, which was the last part of the season because the first part of the season I got hurt, like I said, and I had to have my first knee surgery. I only played the last 50 games of the season. Okay. As I recall, if I'm not lying, you can look at my stats and you can look at all the other centers and power forward stats from that year during my 50 game run and see how my stats matched up. I can remember us beating the Lakers. I can remember us beating Detroit when they came down. And then the end up comes after the season comes, and then in July you trade and bring me to Detroit and set me behind 4 other players. I'm like, why? It was a curse and it was a blessing going to the Pistons. Let me tell you why I say that. Number one, since I started playing basketball in the 9th grade, I have been starting on all 5 starters. I've started on every team I have been on. I don't care if it was in the parks. I don't care if it was in my backyard. I have started on all. I was one of the first 5. All the way from the 9th grade. So you're looking at high school. You're looking at college. Now you're looking at going to the pros. I end up going to the Phoenix Suns and starting my last 50 games of the season. Okay? Why bring me to Detroit and sit me down behind 4 other players that I just beat the year before? That I just played against all the people you're playing against again I just played against them the year before and beat them all. Why am I on the bench? So you want to say it was his work ethic. Lie, because if my work ethic was so bad, I wouldn't have been a starter.
Right.
Understand that? Off the court stuff. Yeah, Dave, man, they worried about so much stuff that I did off the court. Now, why worry about what I'm doing off the court? You're not even playing me. You're not even, I'm sitting on the bench. Months, weeks, games. Why? For what? Because you want to stack a team to go to the NBA. Like they do now, stack teams all over, which I think is the most ridiculous thing in the world. Because why are you going to go and pile a team up of all stars to win a championship? Lakers did it before, but Detroit came and knocked all those stars off, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Okay, then. So that doesn't prove that worked. And I hate it today while all these stars are jumping around to go play with this guy and that guy and this guy. And they want to talk about who the GOAT is. Now, let's put a stop to all this GOAT shit, okay? Everybody is the GOAT in their own era, right?
Right.
You will never see another player like Will Chamberlain. You'll never see another player like Bill Russell. You'll never see another player like Michael Jordan. You'll never see another player like LeBron James. So why are we comparing GOATs? They did it different, each one of them in their era. Okay? If you put Mike in the era today, the way he played, these guys couldn't hold a count. They couldn't hold Mike in an elevator out of a wet paper sack, dude. Trust me, these dudes don't want to see him.
No.
And trust me, yeah, he was my rival. You know, me and Mike, he cool. I see him. Hey, how you doing? This, that. But when you playing on the opposite team, yeah, I hate you. But the dude, come on now, really? How many times he lost in the finals?
0.
Okay. How many times did Mike switch teams and go to another team where another player was to help him win a championship?
0.
Okay. All right then. How many times Mike sat out when he had the flu?
0.
Okay. Yeah. Only time Mike sat out when he what? Broke his foot. That was the only way. He tore fingers up. He got sick the whole 9 yards. These guys these days come out. LeBron's the GOAT. Hell no. He's not. In his era, yeah. If you stay in the league 20 years, averaging 25 plus points, yeah, you're supposed to get the scoring title. But you got the scoring title on a losing night.
Yeah.
And you got the scoring title on a night you might not even make playoffs. So you still want to compare him to Mike? Nope.
I have this discussion with people every once in a while.
You can compare LeBron James with who? LeBron James.
Yeah. Yeah.
He ain't mad. You can compare Mike with who? Mike. That's just like the big lie. Klay Thompson broke George Gervin's record. That's a lie. George didn't have threes. If George had 3-pointers, what you think the score he'd have had?
Yeah.
It'd have been in the hundreds. He got 33 in one quarter with no threes. Klay, how many threes did you shoot? Come on, people, fess up. Stop all this. Come down to reality.
And Jordan played in a time back when hand checking was like crazy. I mean, he got murdered.
Jordan played in an era where you get your ass kicked.
Right, and they couldn't do that today. Those little wussies out there. Oh, no way.
No.
I don't mean to be disrespectful. I mean, I don't compare, but you know what I mean. I mean, Jordan got his butt kicked and still did what he did.
Night in, night out. Night in, night out. I know because I was on a team that was kicking his butt. So, you know, and then you're going to talking about the GOAT. Yeah, he was the GOAT in his own era. LeBron, you're a GOAT in your era, your 20 years. What if Jordan had done 20 years? You wouldn't have been catching his records.
Right.
Who would be catching Jordan's records right now if he'd have stayed 20 years? Doing what he do? Nobody.
And imagine if he hadn't sat out those 2 years in between, you know, where
That's
Houston
what I'm
won.
saying. You got LeBron, you got 2 years he was absent. And you still want to talk about you the GOAT? And when he come back, what did he do? He didn't lose.
Right.
So you stay in your era with that GOAT and let him stay in his era with his GOAT.
You've been described as a quote natural shot blocker, unquote. To this day, you're still the fourth leading shot blocker in Memphis State history with 234. Your 86 blocks during the 85, 86 seasons still is a record for a Tiger Junior. There are a lot of people that have no idea about an NBA record that you hold, Will. While you were with the Pistons in a game against the Seattle Supersonics, which are, of course, is now Oklahoma City Thunder, you set a record for the fewest minutes played in an NBA game with three or more three-pointers made. You went 3 for 3 from three-point range in 1 minute. How the heck did you do that?
Well, see, and that's another thing why I really have a chip on my shoulder about the NBA and how I feel about the NBA on different situations. Because when I played the game and I was shooting three-pointers, everybody frowned on me. Everybody gave me a bad rep. Everybody said, 7-footers shouldn't be out there shooting threes. You get down in the paint. That's where you belong. You are not a small forward or a guard or shooting guard. You don't have to shoot threes. You don't supposed. I mean, they frowned on me shooting threes at all times. So whenever I got the chance to ask Chuck Daly, can we have the green light? When Chuck was mad at the whole first five because we were down, when Chuck told me he don't give a F for what we do, okay. I just went straight to Lance Blanks. Lance, bring me the ball. Chuck said he don't care. And Lance said, okay. And see, Lance, no, I can shoot. Me, Lance, and a lot of guys used to stay in the gym. We used to shoot all the time. Lance, no, I can shoot. That's why he brought me the basketball all 3 times. He looked for me and gave it to me. And that's when I tried to show the NBA, 7-footers can shoot threes. Because I was trying to bring us back that game because we were already about to lose.
Right.
I was bringing us back until they called a timeout and took me out and put the other guys back in, and we ended up losing.
Right. Now they let them shoot threes.
We'd have won that game.
What was it?
Yes.
Was it close?
Listen. The year I was in the NBA, they talking about we big 7-footers can't shoot threes. We don't want you out there. The following year, Dirk Nowitzki comes in and is, oh, glory, we got a 7-footer that can shoot threes. Oh, wow. I'm like, look at this bullshit. I just tried to show y'all that for the last 3-4 years, and then now y'all come up and this guy runs in here, and now y'all holy glory. Okay. Shh. Hey.
You played for, 5 years in Detroit. I believe you very quickly were at the Clippers and then to the Bullets, and both places, for some reason, they were not able to figure out your contract. What kind of BS excuse was all that?
I have no idea. I mean, when I went to the Clippers, I thought it was going to be a new start. First of all, the Detroit Pistons lied to me. Ballface lied to me. We were in the arena in the Palace, and they were sitting up having that little parade, where they have a parade where all the guys come and thank the fans for being there and all that. And they sitting there telling me, Bedford, this is your turn. We handed the candle over to you. You're going to be guiding the team and the whole 9 yards. I took that to heart. I started that after that day. I started pushing myself, working out, track, gym, calling coaches, everything. And then to follow to be slapped in the face and get traded. So I get traded to the Clippers. I'm thinking, okay, I'm pissed off, but okay, it's all right. It's a new start.
Right.
It's the West Coast. I get out there, maybe more popularity. People will see me play more. So let me do this. I go out there, and I'm with the Clippers. We run through all through training camp, getting ready to go to camp to get ready for the training camp. Because I had been working out with the trainers and everybody. So the night before we have a dinner, I got Danny Manning, Charles Smith, a lot of the guys standing up telling me how they're great, they glad we're there, Gary Grant, all of them saying, how glad they are, Ken Norman, how glad they are, I'm back there with the team, finally we got a big man we can play with the whole 9 yards. Okay. That night, we go back to the hotel rooms. I'm back there. We think we was playing spades or cards or something. I get a phone call. It's the general manager. Yes, sir. You've been traded to the Washington Bullets. What? Yes, told me. So get ready pack my stuff in the morning and head over there. Okay. I tell the other guys, they look at me like, what? Are you serious? I'm like, yeah, man, I get trained to watch the bullets. So I go to watch the bullets. I get there, go into training camp, right before we go to preseason. They call and tell me they can't accept my contract, that they got to waive me. So they waived me. I ended up going back home. I ended up going back to Michigan. I was like, okay, well, forget it, I'll try my luck overseas, but right now I'm going to take a vacation. I'm not going to do nothing. But lo and behold, as I was doing that, wasn't doing nothing really. I was down. I think I went to San Antonio. No, I went down to Houston. I went down to Houston, was visiting some friends and stuff, and then I get a phone call saying that, Jared Tarkanian was going down to San Antonio. I want to know if I wanted to come down and back up Mr. Robson. What? I really almost cursed there. It was like, you fucking right? Yeah. He's like, yeah. We're like, yeah, I want to come back. Yeah, I'm coming. So I ended up, lo and behold, going down to San Antonio. And I ended up playing at San Antonio. I did the whole preseason. We go to the regular season. I'm playing pretty regular too, And we come up to, when different we switched coaches from Jerry Tarkanian to John Lucas because, I don't know what the situation was. John Tarkanian wasn't working out or whatever, but John Lucas came over and took over the team. John Lucas was our coach there. Lo and behold, I love that. John Lucas know me from playing basketball in the summer. I've been in Lucas program the whole 9 yards. I'm like, okay, cool.
All right.
We get ready for our first East Coast swing. Guess who we going to first?
Detroit.
Right. I'm so hyped. I'm ready to go because I'm like, I'm finna go and I'm finna mash a hole in their whole organization. I'm going. The night before we get ready to leave, they called me and told me I've been waived.
Ah.
They couldn't pick up 20% of my contract. I'm like, what? I done been here this long? So, at that point, I was pretty pissed off. That's like 3-4 teams. Now I'm like, I'm done. I don't want to do this no more. I'm done with basketball. You know what I'm saying? Then my agent talked to me about going overseas. So I ended up going to Puerto Rico 1 year and Greece for 2 years. So and then I just called it quits after that. I mean, I got tired of the rat race.
We hear all the time, even more now, but obviously back then, I remember Otis Jackson telling me how when he was trying out for the Indiana Pacers, it came down to him and a guy named Jerry Sistine, the two, and Jerry Sistine was out of Purdue in Indiana. And they called OJ in the office and said, hey, we have to choose between the two of you. Do we choose this guy out of Memphis State or we choose this guy that's, near? And they choose Jerry Sistine because he was in Purdue close to Indiana. How it's such a political business. And obviously it was back when you had to deal with it too.
Yeah, it was too. It's a lot. It's just mind-boggling is how people get jockeyed around to please others. You know what I mean? And there's nothing we can do about it. It's been going on for years and years and years, and it's going to continue to go on because that's the way it works. But who is it benefit?
Just the team only, the owner.
Who is it benefit? So,
I mean,
I like Otis. I like Otis Jackson.
Yeah, he's been a friend of mine for 30 years. He taught me actually how to shoot the basketball. So I'm very glad he did that.
You tell me why number 10 is not in the rafters.
I agree.
Why? Give me one reason why. Nobody else is going to stay that long. Nobody else is going to stay that long to do that.
Yep.
They're not.
And think about what he did for Keith Lee his freshman year.
He's the reason why Keith got to be the all-time leading scorer.
Yep.
He is the reason why.
Yep. I'll never forget Keith Lee doing that Jerry Fargo shovel.
Man, Memphis alumni do not get their props.
No.
They don't.
I mean, look how long it took for them to do the Lorenzen number.
They just my high school just retired a guy's jersey from 1973. Why? None of those kids at their school know him.
Right.
You heard of James Bradley?
Yeah, played at Memphis State in the 70s.
Yeah, they just retired his jersey at my high school.
He was a heck of a player.
Huh.
And he played, I think, in the era when John Gunn played.
Yes, another player from Memphis, Melrose.
Who
Exactly.
died so young.
Yes, and you know my high school has put more NFL and NBA and track professionals than anybody else in the city.
I had no idea.
My high school has put more NBA players, more NFL players for sure, and track than any other school in this city. We number one for that.
You know, one of the biggest problems in society, in my opinion, is there are many people who never want to take personal responsibility for their actions. You know, you're not that person. You've admitted that you made a lot of mistakes in your life, you know, when
Oh,
you were
yeah.
younger that, you know, end up costing you in many ways, Will. And, you know, if you would just share with the audience just a little bit about some of those times that you're comfortable talking about and how you were able to persevere and get through them despite those obstacles.
Well, I mean, which one you want me to talk about? They're all public knowledge. I'm not scared.
Whatever you're
I'm not
comfortable
afraid to tell
talking
you
about.
what you wanna know. Whichever one you want to know about.
Yeah. You know, what
Right.
happened after you left the NBA?
Okay, that's an easy one. After I left the NBA, it's like, you know, put yourself in my shoes. It's like after you used to live in that lifestyle for 6 years, 7 years, and you get to the point 8 years, and you live in this lifestyle to the point where you're going anywhere, you're doing anything, you have anything you want, you're able to buy anything you want, you help people out. Anybody you want to help, you can help them whatever you feel like. In order to get to a point to where all that stops, all that NBA hype, all that talk, all that camera, all that television, all those checks, uh, everything stops. You're left now back as a normal citizen. See, people don't understand it's hard to come from that life to this life. To come from living at the highest level to going back down living an everyday life, working a 9 to 5. You see, and my thought was after I left the NBA and I was out for a while, money started deplenishing, things started leaving, material things started leaving. You start looking at, okay, well, how can I start living like that? How can I make that kind of money? You know, and you being in a place of depression and you being in a place where you thinking like, you know, hey, you're invincible now. Nobody out there knows you. You out here by yourself. You know, this is it. You just got to start over. I started selling drugs. I started dibbing and dabbing in drugs and selling drugs. And I got involved in drug things and ended up in trouble and had to do time in prison. You know, and I got out of prison and you know, got my own food trailer and started my own restaurant business. And you know, I did that for a while, but now I'm trying to think of something else to do. But you know, like I've been out since 2011. You know, I did my whole 40s in prison on a conspiracy, on a say so, because two people called my name. Which I put it like this: yeah, I went to jail on the conspiracy from two people calling my name, but then again, I think I got the time for the stuff that I got away with. You know, that's what I put in my mind. Things I've gotten away with that nobody knows about. That's why I got this time, and it gives me time to reflect on what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. And you know, after that, you have to really learn when all that stuff stops. You really have to learn how to live like an everyday person. You know, there's no more cameras. There's no more people seeing you. You know, now you got people that see you, remember you from what you used to do, or from back in the day when they were young. But that's far fetched to what you used to be like. You used to be like you got to duck cameras and duck autographs every time you're seen out in public. You got You know, you hoopla, hey, but now all of a sudden nobody see you.
Right.
And people don't think about that. What happens to NBA players when they leave the game and that money stops? You see, back then, money wasn't flowing like it was now. You know, if you didn't get the endorsements, the commercials, and the shoe deals, and all that, if you didn't get all that, then you know your contract. You know, you had to live by that contract. Once that contract is up, then that's you hit. You hit. That's it. You got to find another avenue. You got to find another outcome. You
People
know,
really don't think about
and that
desperation, what you do when you're desperate.
right, right. I think I lost something. What did I do here?
You're still there.
I'm still here.
Yeah.
Well, I don't
Still,
see you.
can you not see me?
Yeah, I see you.
Okay. I hear you and see you. Sometimes the Wi-Fi go in and out sometimes, so that might be it. But it's clicking, but I still see you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I don't know what this thing is doing.
You're good. I see you. You're perfectly clear on my screen.
Oh, man, this thing is okay. Well, it sent me all the way back to how to join and get in.
Don't even worry about clicking on anything. You're good because I see you perfectly. Yeah. Don't worry about any of that there.
Okay,
It's,
I'm not
yeah.
gonna touch anything.
Yeah. Don't touch it.
I'm not
You're
gonna
good.
touch anything. All I see, all I
Yeah.
see now is a bunch of letters and numbers.
I was talking about, people don't realize when you're desperate what you'll do. A few years ago, I went through some hardships, uh, physically, emotionally, financially. Man, I was desperate. I reached out to people asking to borrow money and stuff like that, and sent text messages out to people like that. And I'm sure people probably thought, what the heck is going on? But I was so scared. You don't know what you'll do when you're desperate sometimes.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. And that's one of my things, I guess that I looked at and that sent me on the deep end like that is because I was calling up on friends. I was calling people to help me, uh, people that I thought would help, and the people that I did help. Uh, Turned their back. I mean, I'm not gonna say they turned their back, but I can say they turned their back because they never talked to me again. And
Right.
I haven't heard from them, seen them, talked to them, or nothing. And you know the stress and situation I'm going through. So why haven't you got back in touch with me? It's because you don't want to. You don't want to, and you don't feel the need to, so you don't do it.
Right.
And guess what? I'm good with that. It took me a long time to even it took me a long time to even come to the realization that I could be able to ask somebody for help. I'm used to being a person that never asks anybody for nothing. But then I got to the point, okay, well, ask. What's the worst thing they can tell you is no. Okay, no, move on. Now, how many times have people have asked me and I haven't said no? I've done the best I can to help.
Yeah.
I've done the best I can to make sure that you had it so you wouldn't have to ask anybody else.
Yeah.
But do I get that same thing? Nope. Ain't happening. And I'm okay with that now. I'm at this
Good.
point in my life right now. I'm okay with no help. Stay away from me. I don't care. You can come at me now and tell me, hey man, I'm sorry, and this, that, and the other. I don't want to hear all that sob story, bull.
Right.
Just let me continue to live my life like I'm living right now. Me and my beautiful wife and my dogs and all the other fun I want to have. Just leave me out of everything now. I don't want to be involved in nothing y'all have going on. Don't invite me to nothing.
Well, you find out when you're going through trouble, you find out who the true friends are and the true people that care about you.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, and I'll put it this way: do I regret helping them? No, no, I don't, because I feel like if I could make your life easier at the time and help you in a place that when you needed it and it was well done and you appreciated it at that time, then that's happiness for me. I'm good with that. I don't need to be. I'm not gonna come and throw it in your face saying, "Hey, I did this, I did that." No,
Right.
that's not me. That's not me. I did it because I knew that it would make you happy. I didn't do it because I was looking for something back. I don't do that.
Tell us a little bit about Manhood University. I know you graduated back in 2019, and it's encourage and empower and employ men in Memphis to reach their highest potential. What are some of the aspects of the program, and how does it help people?
Manhood University, really, they was like, when you first come out, they teach you how to get resumes and all that. So, which you should be knowing that stuff or trying to get somebody to teach you how to do while you're in prison. But as you get out of prison, you need to learn how to do resumes, do interviews, how to dress, how to talk, um, what jobs that you're good at, what jobs you think you can get on to try to help another person or to help team, or are you oriented enough to work with other people? Um, it's really pretty much to get your voters right back, to get you back established in the community, to being a productive citizen. Um, Afterwards, when you graduate, they get you a job. You look for a job, and it's not guaranteed that you get a job, but at least you know the steps that it takes to get to that job or get the type of job that you're looking for.
Memphis just played #1 Houston down to the wire yesterday, lost on a last second
Yeah.
shot. Oh, God, it was miserable. They're projected, as a number 10 seed before the game. However, in my opinion, this team is a 7 or 8 seed. They're not a 10 seed. They're better than a 10 seed. They could be dangerous in the NCAA tournament. They could end up playing again, against Houston again this weekend in the conference tournament too. What do you think about this team? And also give your thoughts on what you think that, the job that Penny's done while he's been here at Memphis.
Hey, girls, I think Penny is doing a great job in Memphis. Um, this team started off kind of bad not playing together. I think they want to play together now. I think they know they can win. I think they're listening to their coach now. I just think they just gotta play more in capitalizing on not turning the ball over and making all free throws, playing defense first, because they can come down sometimes they get complacent. They'll come down and get to the point to where they're in a hurry uh, and make bad passes or jump to pass a ball. But they're just barely little small mental mistakes. But I think right now he's doing a pretty good job so far where he is now. The game they just played it for Houston, you know, I'm a type person like when I played basketball and I didn't I didn't argue or fight or go off on referees because I've never seen a referee blow a whistle. You go all off and talk and do all your antics and he changed the call. It's not gonna change it.
Right.
Not gonna change it. But I've seen some calls in that game, man. I'm looking at it like, why? I mean, is it really this obvious now of how basketball is going? Is it really this obvious? Sometimes I don't even watch the NBA because it's so soft.
Right.
I watch the NFL now sometimes, only when they go down to the playoffs. If they don't get down to the playoffs, I'm looking at these things. I'm going, oh Lord, here we go again. The sports is not like it used to be. It's just not. It's not. And I think the worst thing they ever could have done with sports is put sports gambling in legally. I think that's the worst thing you ever could have done. Now, who's going to be hungry to play the game?
Right.
Who's going to want to get out and teach their kids the fundamentals of the game and do all this and that? Why not just bet on it and make the money? I think it's
You
worse.
played in one of the most physically challenging times in basketball history in college and even in pro the years that you played.
Yeah, they don't play like that today.
No.
Today is soft.
Yeah, you touch them and you get a foul.
Yeah, it's like I seen a statement Michael Jordan had made back 20 years ago. He said, he said, in 20 years, you would never see another NBA player play ball with being sick or a hurt finger or sprained ankle. You'll never see one play again. That means now that when these guys twist a finger or hurt a finger, jam the finger on the rim, and everything, you have 4 to 6 weeks. Why? We used to break a finger and run down the sideline, tell the trainer, "Let me get some tape. Tape that baby up and keep rolling."
And they're still getting that guaranteed 40 or 50 million a year sitting on the bench.
Look, man, some of these guys are getting $40, $50 million to stay at home. Really?
Yep.
It's and then now, look at today. None of the NBA players now, if you look at today, what are your top NBA players right now? They are not from the United States.
Right.
Your top three are not
Luka
from the United
Doncic.
States. They're not from the United States, top three. What are we doing? What are we doing?
With
We
every
really trying to make, are we trying to make this international? Because I mean, I'm looking at, if you look at all these foreign players we have on these in the NBA now, it's just that many Americans that did not make it.
Right.
That did have those same dreams. I'm not saying stop the players from coming over here. I'm not saying we shouldn't be interested in players from over there. But I'm saying you don't have them coming over here running your American league. They running everything.
right.
Your top three players in the NBA are not from the United States, people. What are we doing?
If you had to give a piece of advice to Ja Morant with everything going on right now, what would you tell him?
You know, I just told the same people this the other day. I just told everybody, like my friends around the corner, about to go over there in a little bit. My first thing I would tell him is, number one, move your people, your parents, dad, all them, back to where they from, their hometown. Buy them a nice big home back there, a business, something they, you know, they can hold as a family together, something they may want to do. All those friends of yours, dudes that say you're your friends, and get rid of every one of them. I'm not saying y'all don't have to be friends. I'm saying you don't have to be friends with me right now. I got a job to do. I'm under contract. I got a different lifestyle now. I cannot do or be around you guys doing the same thing ever again. And they have to accept it. If they're your friends and they love you and they say they're your friends, they will get the fuck away from around you so you can continue your career. Stop acting like you're a gangster. You're not. You keep messing around in Memphis, they're going to show you who gangster. Those kids out there in the streets here in Memphis with these guns don't give a damn about you, Ja Morant. They don't care about you. They don't. You just another dude with a gun.
And he could end up losing that. I mean, I doubt Nike's going to
I
pull
need
that.
you to go sit down. I need you to have your baby, your woman, and you in your house. Everybody else don't need to be there, sir. Yeah, you might have somebody cooking for you, clean, you know, the grounds crew. That's fine. Get
Sure.
all them straggle-ons out of there and get your parents from next door. Grow up. Be your own man. Stand up. You're a great player. One of the very few that can come in the league and make a statement like you've been doing. Continue to make that statement. Get away from around all the negativity. You might not see your dad and your parents being a negativity. I'm not saying your parents. I'm saying your dad, by him being there every game. That puts a different status on you. You play a different way when your dad at the game. You can't tell me you don't. You play a different way. I did when my parents was at the game.
Sure.
LeBron James played different when his mama was at the game with the wife, huh?
Right.
Come on, man.
I wouldn't want him to lose that Powerade and Nike contract because, I mean, those are
I
huge.
don't want Ja Morant to come in here and lose what he's worked so hard to get to all his life. You worked hard to get here. You're here now. You're here. Relax. Let the rest of that shit go.
Yeah.
They're not going to build your career. They're not going to help you. They're only going to hurt you.
Exactly. Thank you for
And
that.
I can tell you point blank, dude, point blank. Everything you do gonna get blown out of proportion. This ain't like you back at school or some other guy that, hell, if the guy down the street from you did the same thing you did, nobody would never ever know. But you, Ja, everybody gonna know what you do when you do it. They're gonna blow it up. Trust me, I've been on CNN.
I remember.
I've been on CNN, son. Leave it alone. Do positive shit. What negative have you heard on LeBron?
Nothing.
Zero. All you heard was plus. Now he might have done something, but you don't know about it. You ain't gonna know about it.
Right. My
But
last
you're doing
question.
too much. See, John Moran is doing too much right now. He trying to please too many people, and he's trying to get out in the public too much, way too much.
One last question for you, Will. What do you believe are the most important lessons that you've learned in life?
Ooh, my most important lesson was, or still is to listen. Is to listen, because I went through some points and times in my career, and then after my career, I didn't listen to people that told me some things to do or told me some ways to make things better, and I didn't listen to them. I went my own way. But if I had to do all over again, I think I would listen a lot more. I think I would listen to some people that really had my interests at heart, and I would take heed to it if I had to do all over.
Yeah, not funny that you say that, but interesting to say that, because I think that's, for me, it's the same thing. I had so many people in my life that gave me such good advice that I did not listen to, and that's something that, I'm on the same level with you, so I can relate very well to that. I posted on sometime in the last couple of weeks on Facebook and Instagram that I was going to have you come on my podcast. 'Cause I usually post about a day or two before someone comes on to promote the upcoming show. But after I made contact with you and you said you would come on, I was so excited and wanted to share it with everyone. And watching you those 3 years at Memphis State, those were a big part of my childhood. And I meant it when I said to this day, you're still one of my favorite Tigers of all time. So I really appreciate you coming on today, man.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
My pleasure. And once again, I'd like to thank my sponsor for the show, Platinum Jewelers here in Memphis. And I appreciate you coming on today, talking about your life, your career with Memphis State, and your career in the NBA. It's really been a pleasure. So thanks again, William.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You take care. Thank you.